What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Love and Rice podcast with your host, Aunt Ma, and host, Christina Ma. And we have been uploading every single week. And I hope you guys have been enjoying these episodes and also on Spotify and everywhere else you guys listen to podcast platforms. So drop a comment down below what topics you want us to talk about and also how you've been liking this podcast so far. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how often we should bring our kids back to our hometown. For me, I've been to China twice, and I'm from a very deep village inside, I would say, southern China. So when you go to southern China, there's Canton, right? And inside Canton, there's a place called Toisan, and inside Toisan, there's villages. Pretty much the villages where people eat dogs, right?
Yes.
And so I'm from a village like that, and I've been there 2 times. And it's crazy because it's like hours long drives getting that deep into China.
I've never been to China, so I
Really?
can't really relate to it. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. Like my parents just they never thought to bring us back there, and I think because they tried to get away from being in China. So I think they feel like they have a really good life in the US. So why would they want to go back to China to kind of see the poverty and to see like the living conditions and kind of like relive it again?
Well, my parents never thought to bring me. I asked them, when can I go to China? So I was, I think, like maybe 16 years old the first time I went.
Yeah.
Maybe 14, something like that. And I just went with me and my dad. And
And you initiated the conversation.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think, because, I've never been to Asia.
Yeah.
And my dad would go every year. And the reason why he would go every year is because he had a reason to.
Right.
So my dad is from China and he was born there, right? And he left when he was like 8 years old. And then he was in Hong Kong, homeless at 8 years old because his father passed away while he was in Hong Kong with him on a business trip. And so I think he was in Hong Kong for like 10 years. And he then went to Oakland when he was like
that's so interesting.
in his teens. That's how he met my mom in San Francisco.
Why Oakland?
I have no idea. No idea.
Okay.
And I never really asked, but maybe I should.
Probably. I mean, that's kind of interesting to go from China and then of all places to go to Oakland. Maybe he had friends out there, if anything, or he just happened to like stumble across it. But, I think how we connected before was kind of like with the small villages that our parents both lived in, because I feel like my parents, they always talk about these villages that they live in, but because they're so Chinese and, English is not their first language, like with your mom. So then I'll try to ask them certain things. I'm like, do you know what city you were in? Or like, what was this little like town that you were in? But, she would tell me the same things like, oh, we had to eat dogs out there sometimes too. Or like sometimes you would have to eat dog brain or monkey brain and stuff because that's like what you needed to eat to like, to recover from like an injury. And she would say all this stuff all the time. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to see where you guys grew up. But she would always say that, there was a lot of poverty out there and that they just had a really hard time living there.
The poverty is on another level in China. So when I did go on like a tour with my dad in China, we would travel like all the way from south to north. And every 2 to 3 days, we're in a different city. And we'll go see all these historic artifacts and places. And when we're on this tour bus and when you're leaving these poor areas, you'll see these like 5-year-old, 8-year-old kids running after the bus. They got like one arm and they're trying to sell you something, while the bus is taking off. And it's sad, man.
That's probably one of the reasons why my parents don't want to go back.
Yeah, it's really sad. Like when my dad took me to where he was born and where he lived with his family, it was like it looked like a farm, but they had white, dirty gray concrete like shacks. And some of the rooms didn't have a roof. When you go inside the house, like they don't really have doors. And then they don't have beds. And then so when you see these beds, all they have is like it looked like it was gray concrete before along the wall that's made for a bed. and you just see a mattress pad there, like a really thin one,
It's
like a
not even like
futon.
a actual mattress.
Yeah, and then it's like it's actually all black now because it's so dirty.
Yeah.
Um, they don't have a dinner table. Like it's like how you see on TV in the poverty in like rural areas. You
Right.
know, it was really bad. So for me to see that as a kid, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. And then we go in the backyard, and there's like weeds going up to my knees, and we're crossing these like going walking along these sticks of wood to cross the other side of the mountains, and then you see like a whole like area filled with tombstones, and it's like it's my grandfather, my great grandfather, and everyone else that was in the village, and they would bury everyone in the back
Like
of
in the backyard of the
in the
house.
backyard. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
So that was my dad's reason of going to China every time, was to visit his dad and his grandfather.
I see.
You know.
Yeah, so I guess seeing that and kind of experiencing that, we didn't have that growing up. That wasn't our hometown. But would you want to take the kids to go to China and to kind of show them?
I would say yes, because one, it made me feel special and like realize where I came from.
Yeah.
And I feel very special that I got to see it, because I have like 20 cousins, and I don't think any of them have seen it but me.
Would you know how to get your way around there?
No, because even the taxi guys don't know how.
Oh, wow.
You have to ask every taxi person, do you know how to get to this village or this village? And it takes a special guide to know how to take you there. And so the second thing is, because I've seen that poverty, I think this is why I work so hard,
Oh, that makes sense.
because that's where I came from. And to see how my dad lived like that to where he is now, I'm
Yeah.
like, I can do better, right? I can do more. So why can't I get to this highest level that I can after seeing where my dad came from?
Yeah, so it's more of a sense of motivation.
Right? So my dad was in that poverty until he was 8. And then when he went to Hong Kong, he was homeless because
Yeah.
his dad passed away.
And that's so crazy that he still is like okay with going back home too and kind of like reliving he had a really traumatic life.
Yeah. So he was to the point where, like, at 8 years old, he was on a park bench, and that's where he would sleep and cover himself with newspapers. And then, he would shiver from the cold and things like that. So it was really bad.
I feel like for us as kids, like that's something that we've never really experienced. Like maybe if I went out and I came home kind of late, like when it was dark, maybe like 7, 8 o'clock p.m. And like that's late for my parents because I had a curfew. But like if I came home later than I said I was going to, like maybe they wouldn't let me in the house, and I would just like be outside,
Yeah.
by myself waiting until they allow me to come in again, and like that shivering, shaking feeling. But it does not compare to being stranded on a bench, like because that's your only way of survival and not having anyone,
Yeah. Yep. It's very
Jeez.
heartbreaking when I hear these stories. So do I want to take our kids to China to see all that? I most definitely do. And I don't know how to get there, so we got to go with grandpa
Yeah, so that means we have to go like
in the next
now.
year or two.
Yeah.
But I don't even want to take them right now, because one, it's so expensive to travel with kids.
Right.
Like, just for a flight for the kids is ridiculous. And maybe by they get, at this age, when they get older, they're going to forget this.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah.
When I was 16 and 18, when I went those 2 times, I remember everything.
Those are more life-changing experiences,
Yeah.
because I don't remember a lot of things when I was, 3 or 5 years old either.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons why I wanted to go is because my brothers had an opportunity when they were 14 to travel abroad. And so they spent an entire summer in Taiwan
Oh, wow.
for Chinese school by themselves.
Wow.
And so, after they got to do that, I was probably just always asking, like, when can I go to China, or when can I go to Asia? So that brings me to another question, is like, would you ever send our kids abroad like that by themselves?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I always want to know where they are, what they're doing. And it's more so just because I always want to make sure that they're safe. Like,
Yeah.
even when Leia's in school, I'm just like, how is she doing? Is she doing okay? Who's watching her? Is she going to the bathroom on her own? Like, there's just so many things. And then if you're going to send them like abroad somewhere else, like you don't know what's really going on.
Yeah, I think maybe because my brothers had each other because they're twins. But yeah, it's different with Leia and Enzo. She's a girl.
Yeah. How old were they when they
14.
traveled? Oh, okay.
So they're still very young. They were like in between middle school to high school.
Who was watching them when they were there?
I don't know, the school program, maybe,
Oh,
you
it's
know.
with the school. Okay.
Well, not with their school.
So they were like international students.
I don't know. I don't know the specifics. I think it was just a school in Taiwan.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't know if I would be okay doing that unless that's something that they like expressed interest in and I knew that someone would be taking care of them and I can trust that person, but that's kind of a
Yeah,
scary
I
thing.
mean, even if it was in a trustworthy place, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would like them to go because now, like, yeah, it's great that they're gonna learn independence and stuff like that. But then now, I don't want them to come back with that independence and leave us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're
Like,
thinking
that's so
of
sad.
ahead of time. I'm thinking like in the present.
What do you mean?
Yeah, because I'm like worried about them going to school and like that moment of it actually happening, but you're scared of when they're going to come back and what's going to be the end result of that.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not talking about sending them abroad right now.
Yeah.
They're 5 years old.
I mean, even sending them out of state for school or something, like I would still be kind of like hesitant about it, but obviously I would want them to branch out and kind of learn and, still be more independent.
Man, I'm afraid of everything here that we're talking about. It's
know.
a bit scary.
It's
so
the life of being parents and just having kids.
Yeah.
There's just way too many things going on right now.
all right, guys. Drop a comment what you think about what we just talked about. Would you let your kids go abroad by themselves? Give
Would
us some
you take-
reassurance.
Yeah. Would you take your kids back to their hometown, especially knowing, how your parents grew up? Do you want to see them being exposed to that poverty?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own reasons. Your family didn't want to show you that. My family wanted to show me. So, yeah, we both live very different lives.
Yeah, but I honestly feel like that's actually a great learning experience, and you can teach them a lot about that. Because I think even if we were to make that trip to go, even I would be shocked, and I would be probably more grateful for what we have after like seeing that level of poverty.
For sure.
So.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to follow us on YouTube and also Spotify and all podcast platforms. And we'll talk to you guys next time. I don't know why I said we'll talk to you guys, but we'll see you guys next time on the next episode.